Disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Do not attempt this at home. Vitiated how-to will not be responsible because you decided to be a cheap ass and not hire a professional.
On with the show.
Alright, we're gonna have a little discussion about fear. I'm sitting here watching a movie that I've seen before, but not really. It's one of them movies, you know, get you thinking about certain things. So, we'll have a little discussion about fear. Back in 2000, well, we'll start, Back in 2004, I bought a Honda 954. Bike was too big for me. I was still a newbie. I went from a little 93 or 94 Kawasaki 600, which is slower than shit, to a 954, which was pretty goddamn fast. And for my weight and just my experience in general, it was too much for me. But I knew that I didn't want a 750 and I didn't want another 600. So I was going to go big and I just learned. So we're cruising down the road, and me being the experienced moron that I was, my buddy took off on his ZZR 12, took off, and somebody else in front of us took off, and I was way behind, so I sped the fuck up trying to catch up, and I got up there really damn quick, and I panicked, and me being kind of a bodybuilder slash weightlifter at the time, I had an iron grip. And anybody that's ever had a 954 or Gixxer 1000 or anything that's close to that caliber, they know you don't get a handful of brake. It'll kill you. What just so happens that day, I was in luck it didn't kill me. When I grabbed the brakes, my bike started going up like it was going to do an endo. And I could see the ground, and I could see my face going to the ground. And it stood up, and there was a little puddle of water there, and it just washed out from underneath me. So instead of it flipping and tank slapping my ass on the other side, it went up and slid outward. And I hit face first on the bike, and then I hit the concrete, and I slid across the concrete. I slid on the concrete until, now mind you, I was doing about 100. So when all this was happening, it was a nice little slide. And till my hands hit the ground, and then my hand started dragging across because it was my right hand and my left arm. So this hand, the whole bottom part of it right there was all flesh. And all that there was skinned up. The tattoo was almost gone. And my helmet, because I slid on this side, there was a big gash right there where it ground down an inch of my helmet. And then I slid just like that until my knee, I guess, caught a pothole or something. And then it flipped me over and I started tumbling and I slid on my back. So it messed my back up on my left shoulder pretty bad. And my bike slid from the place it originally fell to about 65 feet across the intersection. Lucky though, oncoming cars. I'm glad I had insurance on it. Slid across all the way to the other side of the street. I stood up, went to walk, and fell because I messed my knee up so good that when I stood up, it just fell out from underneath me. So I'm hobbling across the street, and I get rushed to the hospital, and because my tag said DOA on it, the cops thought I was doing a trick, and I told them no, I just knew, and I panicked, and I grabbed too much brake. Because I didn't tell them how fast I was going, but since it's been so long, I could say I was doing almost 100. So, went to the hospital, got put on crutches. My buddy made sure my bike made it back because I had AAA. I think I had AAA then. I can't remember. My bike ended up back at the house. Hell, he might even rode it. I don't know. I don't remember. But my bike went back to my house, and he went up to the hospital and picked me up. And I ended up on crutches. And I was supposed to stay on crutches for 8 weeks. I tell you right now, that didn't happen. It was the day that Katrina hit New Orleans. Because I was supposed to go up there the next day. And it was on a Sunday. Because that Monday morning, we were packing to go up there Sunday night. So needless to say, that messed me up for a month. So I get put on these damn crutches, and my knees all messed up and everything. And I'm just sitting there, and it's just, my shoulder was pretty banged up. I had to get physical therapy with a friend of mine helped me get my shoulder to where I can move it now. And I sit out there, and every day I would get up out of the bed and I'd go out to that bike. Every day I would go out to that bike and sit on it every day. Because my buddy told me to be careful, because the fear would creep in and I would never get on that bike again. So I did it every day. I would get out and sit on that bike every day. No matter how much pain I was in, it didn't matter. I got out and sit on that bike. And after about 2 weeks, I rode that fucking bike on crutches. I hobbled my ass out there on the crutches. I backed the bike out. I laid the crutches up against my little garage thing I had. I backed the bike out painfully, and I rode it to his house, which was about 10 miles down the road. He wasn't home, so I rode it back, and I didn't get back on it again for 3 months. Yeah, I think it was 3 months. Because 30 days after I dropped it, I went up and started working for subcontractor for FEMA. So I stayed up there until there was a hurricane coming back through Naples, where I lived. So I went and got my bikes. And then I got back on it finally and rode it like normal. But it was still kind of sketchy. And the fear of getting on it and riding it, it's just, I'm not afraid of anything. It's just that's always in your mind that you're like, well, what if you do this? What if you do that? And you got to overcome it. No matter how much it tries to consume you, you have to overcome it. Because it's natural to fear something. But to be afraid of it is not cool. Fear is, how they say it, healthy. If you use it in the right way as motivation. And me being an adrenaline junkie like I was, so it wasn't that big of a deal to me. It just sucked. But it took me some time to get back into it and kind of okay. And even years later, I think it was 10 or 12 years later, I had knee surgery, so I couldn't ride. And I hadn't been on it in a really long time because of knee surgery. And I got on it again just to make sure to make myself get on it. And I ended up not being able to ride it at all anymore because of the damn doctor messed my knee up. Worse than what it was. But it's kind of a long drawn story, but that's what happens. I still think about it sometimes. I have the helmet as a reminder that any time could be that time. And people say, why you keep it? I said, well, it's a reminder. And when people start talking shit, oh, I don't need it. Yeah, do you need a helmet? It's a good idea. If I hadn't had a helmet, the whole side of my face would be gone. Down to the bone. All this here, all that would have been bone. And it'd have been bone. I guarantee. And it would have got down into the bone because the side of my helmet was all ground up. I mean, there's a spot the size of my hand that is all white from what the original color of the helmet was before it was painted. And it was damn near an inch, if not more, deep into it. It's almost penetrated all the way through the helmet. So I got lucky with that. And superficial wounds, I mean, the skin was missing off of there. It was down to the flesh. So all the skin was gone. And same thing with my arm. Luckily, the guy that did my tattoo did it really deep because I'd have been screwed. And then my knee, it was almost to the bone. It was close. If I hadn't had jeans on, it'd have been to the bone. After that, I started wearing my my jacket, really good pants. I had good shoes. It chewed the shoes up because they were tennis shoes, but at least they were leather. So after that, I started wearing boots. Was it a little insane? Nah. But being a newbie it didn't hurt. And luckily doing that, because years later, I started working for a shipyard, and I bought a brand new Gixxer 1000. And I probably had it, because I bought it in 06. And in 2009, I dropped it. 2009 or 2010. Because there was an issue with the brakes. The master cylinders didn't work right. And I wrote the company and I bitched at Suzuki City over it, and on and on and on, and it didn't get nowhere. And then finally, I found somebody that would replace it, and he replaced the master cylinder. And the year after he replaced the master cylinder, Suzuki did a fucking recall on it. I said, God damn. After I done spent $300 and something to fix it. And done messed my bike up again from the accident. Fuck. But then I just jumped up and took off, and wasn't a big deal that time. So, sorry it was so long, but somewhat motivated to try to overcome the fear. I can't think of nothing else. I've had a few car accidents, but they wasn't bad. I ain't really total nutting out or nothing. Motorcycle accident was the worst thing. Yeah, that was the worst. Oh, no. Yeah, worst accident. I had a, when I was a kid, we were on a Ferris wheel. A little off subject. Me and one of my cousins that was in New Orleans. That's where some of my family was, in New Orleans. And me and her, we were swinging this fucking seat in the Ferris wheel. We had that bitch going. We was swinging this way and that way, and I mean, we had it going to where it would go up and back down. And they fucking stopped the Ferris wheel. That bitch just goes whoop, whoop, and I almost fell out of that motherfucker. Oh man, I was hanging out. She had my fucking leg, and I'm hanging down, looking down and shit, freaking the fuck out. I was probably about 6 or 7. Oh man, I hated heights from that point on. So yeah, eventually I overcame that fear too. I still don't care too much for heights, but they don't bother me. Not like it used to. It was bad. When I was a kid, it was real bad. But now it's, whatever. It ain't too bad. There's still times and moments, but I overcome it and conquer it every time I can.